sweet. Let's go find something else to cut up.
Thanks, man.
All right, take care.
Rick, I said I'd come back with some more intriguing Viking items. All right.
Come around. Put them right here.
Moments like these remind me of how much I love my job. Most people, especially here in the United States, never get to see a real Viking sword in person. But Laird is willing to let me look at 2 of them that he has in his collection. And to a history nerd like me, there's nothing cooler.
What I've got here for you is some classic Viking swords.
Cool.
We've got one that's classic from the pre-Christian era, decorated with silver and copper and yellow, which it's rare for it to survive because a lot of times the Vikings, when they put their dead into graves, they burn them first. And they often burn the items with them. So silver, copper often just melted right off and you're just left with the iron.
Can I?
Yes, certainly.
All right.
This was a lot of work, a lot of skill. We're talking, what, like 800 AD?
That one's probably closer to 950.
Okay, but still, I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of technology, and most people don't realize how difficult iron is to work with.
And what we don't realize is that it took a lot of effort to turn iron into steel. So to get the carbon in to make the edge actually hard. On this one, it's a special item because it's after the conversion to Christianity. It's around 1050 AD. This sword actually was published in an article that studied the carbon content of steel on a number of swords. It was about 0.8%, which we don't think of as high today. But back then, very, very high. And this one is actually inscribed. And what you can see, I'm not going to stab you, but this one has the name Niso, and then it's followed by the Latin phrase me fecit, which simply means Niso made me.
Okay, that is definitely cool.
When you think about a Viking sword and what it meant to the owner, it was a signal of differentiation in wealth and power within the Viking society. We can almost think about it today like the difference between, you know, a gentleman driving a Dodge Neon and a gentleman driving a Mercedes S-Class.
These are pretty damn amazing. So you're looking to maybe sell these things?
I haven't actually sold a sword from the collection since probably 2006. The prices tend to be pretty high because they don't come up that often. They're both something in the $35,000 to $40,000 range.
Okay. It's a great piece of history. It really is. But out of my league for most of my customers, you wouldn't sell me one for like half that?
I'd love to be able to do that, but I don't think I could ever replace it.
I understand. You know, hopefully you'll go broke one day, though, man.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
All right, man. Well, thanks for showing it to me.
Thank you, Rick. Good to see you. Rick's quite a businessman. Sometime in the future, it's always possible that Rick could pry one out of my hands, but for now, I'm pretty resolute.
Hey, Rick. How you doing?
How's my favorite book picker?
This time I picked a book that I think any businessman would love. It's Adam Smith's The Wealth of Nations.
The Capitalist Manifesto.
It is. I brought a copy of an 18th century edition of Adam Smith's The Wealth of Nations. It's the most important book of capitalist economics, and Rick's a businessman, so I think he's going to go gaga for it.
It's the first books on economics and the capitalist system, what we call a free market economy now. They should study this in high school. They really should. It's basically everything about the creation of wealth. Like, you know, basically a man goes in his backyard, digs up some dirt, takes the iron out of the ground and turns it into a horseshoe. So the horseshoe is worth money. So you have created wealth out of nothing. I basically said, let people work hard and do business and everyone will do well. And the invisible hand, meaning the marketplace, will figure out the price structures of everything.
Exactly. And actually, I knew you'd be interested in the invisible hand, so I put a little marker here just where it is. He says, he intends only in his own gain, referring to the person. And he is in this and in many other cases led by an invisible hand. And it only appears really once in the book, but that's the phrase that the book is known for.
What year was this printed?
This is a 6th edition of the book. It was printed in 1791. It's still a nice collectible edition because it's still an 18th century edition.
Have they been rebound?
Well, I think they retain some of their original binding, but at some point, the spines have been remade to match the binding covers. So the spines are probably 20th century, but the covers are much earlier.
It's a pretty amazing set of books. The nerd in me is going like crazy right now. How much you want for them?
Well, I was going to ask $2,500 for them.
As always, I'm going to call on Rebecca because she knows a lot more about this stuff than I do
Sure,
about
yeah.
this stuff. All right, I'll be right back. Okay. Okay.
Sounds good.
These will look so amazing on my bookshelf at my house. The Wealth of Nations.
Oh.
The Capitalist Manifesto.
That's clever of you. Did you come up with that
I came
all on
up
your
with
own?
that all by myself.
That was all you.
I tried to bring something this time to make Rick excited.
Hey, it's about making money. That's like my third or fourth favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, I don't think I'm showing Rick's cards when I say I think he really wants this book. You know, in some ways, Adam Smith is the Darwin of economics. You're in this sort of mercantilist economy that's very different, driven by these huge, powerful states. And 1776, you have the Declaration of Independence, and it's the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. Things are changing. And this is an explosion of economic thought and work, and it just changed the way we live. 1776, the Founding Fathers were reading this book. This was hugely influential on Hamilton, and in fact, Madison later uses it to counter some of Hamilton's suggested projects. So it's kind of great because Founding Fathers on both sides use it against each other. This is essentially the most important work in modern economic thought. Any edition of Wealth of Nations published in the 18th century is going to be desired by collectors because that's still the same historical context, the same people reading it and being influenced by it and acting based on its principles. All right, so should we talk about the actual copies here?
So there's a little bit of foxing.
Yes.
I learned that from her.
I'm impressed.
That's the spots on the pages.
Yes, the spots. Yes, there's foxing on the pages, a little bit more than I would like to see, frankly. It's been rebacked. I don't mind the rebacking because it's pretty well done, though there are some other issues of edge wear to the binding. But, you know, for what it is, among other 18th century copies, it's actually rather nice.
Okay. So what do you think they're worth?
This is the type of book that's a total home run in book collecting. Personally, if I had this copy of this book, I would be selling it for around $4,800 to $5,000.
That's a decent price.
Thanks.
Well, thanks so much, Rebecca, as
Take care.
always.
So, I'll give you your $2,500. I think.
And I'll tell you, it's no secret, both of us knew that you really want these.
I know that. I know that. It's.
You know what I see, Rick? I see that invisible hand now coming in, reaching into your wallet a little bit. Look, why don't you give me 28 for them? It's less than $3,000. It's the most important book in capitalism. It's an 18th century edition and a very nice copy of it. 2,800.
All right, I'll give you 2,700 because you know I want these for myself, and that sort of stuck that way. But
Back and
it's
forth.
more than fair,
Yeah.
and next time, take care of me.
I'm not going to argue with you for $100. I think that's fair.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Rick and I agreed on 2,700. I probably could have squeezed him for a little bit more, but, you know, he did boost it a little bit to make me happy.
Can I help you with something?
Hey, just trying to find out the authenticity of this meteorites.
Whoa.
So my dad was a big comic book aficionado.
Okay.
And so this was gifted to him.
It's kryptonite.
I didn't use that word. I have a meteorite. It's been in the family for a while. It was a hand-me-down from the friends that I've talked to. This is the gift from the gods. I'm hoping he's gonna see the true value of this.
This is very cool. Meteorites are really, really neat. I mean, you can really nerd out on them. NASA is always tracking big asteroids, and actually, we're really, really lucky that we live on Earth. Saturn and Jupiter are like giant gravitational magnets that end up sucking up most of the asteroids that come close to Earth. If they weren't there, we probably wouldn't exist because we'd be hit by meteorites all the time. So it looks meteorite-ish. What's this thing weigh, like 40, 50 pounds?
Yeah, you're probably pretty close on the mark there. Feels pretty authentic.
They were just so prized by like all the ancient cultures because up until like 150 years ago, it was really hard to make steel. Okay, it was a very expensive process. But sometimes when they found these rocks, it was this incredible kind of iron that was really malleable. It held an edge, it wasn't brittle. It was just everything about this stuff was amazing. You could build things that no one else could build. Ancient cultures literally thought these were gifts from the gods. That's what makes it so cool. So, did you have an idea what you wanted for it?
I do. 24,000.
Okay. Sounds like a lot of money, but these are definitely collectible. I don't know exactly how much big iron ones like this go for, but I have a friend that can tell us, he can test it, and do all sorts of stuff like that. Maybe the really big ones go for big money.
For sure.
I'll be right back.
I am very confident this is a meteorite, but let the expert take a look at it and really tell me the true value of it. I think it's going to bring a nice penny.
What you got today?
I have what I believe to be a meteorite.
So, this is a piece of iron that's coming into the Earth at up to 100,000 miles an hour. So at that speed, it melts and it forms all these wonderful little depressions. And that's why they look the way they do and they get this little crust on it. So just based on that, looks like a meteorite, but my little space gun, as Red calls it, will tell me what we've got here.
That will prevent you from having children. That's what this thing is.
Oh, for sure.
So stand back, radioactive. So my guess is this comes from Argentina. So the biggest fall of meteorites in known history came from a site called Campo de Cielo. And there are 15, 20 tons of this material that's on the market. So if this is from Campo, we should see about 90% iron and about 9% nickel. So that will tell us where this guy is from. So I just point, shoot, and I have got 89% iron, 10% nickel. So this is a Campo meteorite.
Okay.
So the Spanish found this in about 1570. They think this meteorite hit the Earth somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000 years ago.
Okay. So I know meteorites are collectible, but what do they go for?
Meteorite of this size should sell for 50 cents a gram, give or take.
Joshua, do we have a scale around here somewhere?
I think so. Let me go check.
Oh, cool. Just set on the ground. All right, so you look like you're in shape.
Yeah, I've been carrying it around this long.
You brought it in here.
Yeah.
So what does it weigh?
19.7 kilograms,
So you're saying it's worth around 10 grand?
10,000 bucks.
Okay. Thanks, man.
My pleasure.
Okay.
I'll take my gun and go.
All right, so I'll give you 5 grand.
Wow, yeah, that's considerably lower than what I initially walked in here
Because
thinking.
you wanted way too much money when you walked in here.
Well, obviously I was going off of other, recommendations. But how about 7?
You know what? I'll give you the 7 grand. Okay? Just walk over to the counter over there. We'll do some paperwork and I'll get you paid. Okay?
Thanks. Well, we settled on $7,000, knowing that it is real and my dad's hand-me-down really was a meteorite, brings some level of happiness. So I'm okay with $7,000.
A Wooten desk?
The king of desks, they called it.
Yes, the supercomputer of desks from the 1880s.
Yeah, the patent date is 1874, and then this side is mailbox.
They were purpose-built for organizing your stuff, and it's so much like the supercomputer, you gotta open it up to see if you have mail.
I'm at the pawn shop to sell my original Wooten desk. It was designed by William Wooten, and this one is dated 1885. This desk came from the great-granddaughter of the original owners. The price I want for the Wooten desk is $14,500.
These are amazing. When Wooten came out with these things, it was the first desk that was like business-oriented. It wasn't like a writing desk at home or something like this. You did business with this desk.
Oh, these were very professional desks. Where the world was getting complicated in the Gilded Age, and to get organized, you needed one of these.
Can I open it up?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is clean. This is really nice. Oh, that's great. It's in beautiful shape.
A lot of these got fairly beat up because they were real commercial desks. But this one was in the single family and descended, and it stayed in very good shape. These are all original. There's little compartments, and there's an alphabetical system and a number system for, bills or invoices.
There's the mail slot in the back, so when you come in the morning, you could just open this and grab your mail out from here. Oh, I can see it's been a little bit modified, but that happens to him every once in a while.
Right.
Apparently, he had some sort of paging system put in there or something like that. And I'm assuming these right here were most likely for setting his pens in.
They're inkwells, a red one and a black one.
I mean, I really, really do love these things.
A lot of famous people had these. I think 3 American presidents did. Queen Victoria had one, John D. Rockefeller, Joseph Pulitzer. They were really the prestige desk of their era.
Okay, so how much you want for it?
I want $14,500.
I'm in love with this thing. 99% sure everything's cool, but do you mind if I have someone look at it?
Not at all.
I don't know if they, there was different companies making them and
Right.
selling them as Wootens later on.
Right.
Give me a few minutes, I'm gonna call somebody, just make sure there's no problems. But as far as I can tell, there's no problem. So, but give me 5 minutes, all right?
That's great. I have no doubts but that this is an authentic one. I'm real happy to have an expert look at it, and I hope he backs that up.
Here we go.
Wooten. Nice.
You bought one of these new, right?
No, I did not. However, they're interesting. The guy who invented this, William Wooten, decided he was going to build the best desk out there, the king of desks, and he came up with this. I love these because of all the cubby holes. There was, 114 or something cubby holes in it. The desk itself is all made out of black walnut. Now, these are faced in probably curly maple. Much of this was done by hand, and this was not cheap in its day.
So how much were these new?
I think they started around $700 for the lowest end, and then went up to thousands of dollars.
Whoa.
You know, at that point in time, that was a horrendous amount of money for a desk. And looking at it, it doesn't look like it's had too much work done to it. This is beautiful.
So the reason I called you down here, it's a Wooten desk, right?
Can we close it up and take a look at the label?
Yeah. I just want to make sure someone just didn't take a Wooten label and stick it on this thing.
Yeah. Should be letters on this side, yes. Oh, yeah. So looking at it, looking at the label, this is a Wooten. This one's just beautiful.
All right,
No.
thanks, man.
Not a
I knew
problem.
you'd want to see
Thank
it.
you. Absolutely. This is a beautiful piece. Thanks for bringing it in. The Wooten desk, for anybody collecting late 19th century furniture, this is one of the ultimate pieces that you would have. This is a beautiful desk. Of course, if it were me, I'd take it home.
So how much you want for it?
I want $14,500.
But you'll take 12, right?
I won't take 12. I think it's a really good piece. It's a one-family piece. The condition's excellent, and even the modifications are interesting.
So, well, Amy, what's your best price?
14,000 even.
So 13?
How about 13.5?
You got a deal.
Thank you.
This thing is
Thank you.
absolutely amazing. Go right over there. I'll have someone do some paperwork, and I'll give you some money.
Thank you.
This is what happens when you get emotional about stuff. You pay too much.
How are you, sir?
Oh, pretty good.
Great.
What do we have here?
This is a telescope that I've had, and I'm moving from my house to an apartment now, so I thought I'd bring it in and see what you could give me for it.
All right, you could have brought in a picture.
Coming down to the pawn shop today to try to sell my telescope. I was hoping to get $12,000 for it. Minimum between $8,000 and $10,000 would probably be my lowest score.
Where did you get this thing?
I got that from an old garage sale.
Do you know much about it?
Not as much as I should if I wanted to keep it.
Okay. It's a Carl Zeiss telescope, late 1800s.
Was he the maker of it?
Carl Zeiss was a lens maker. He lived in the 1800s. He made a lot of advancements in lenses. He invented the achrochromatic microscope, if you have any idea what that is.
No, I don't.
This just goes to prove what a nerd I am. Carl Zeiss started making microscopes in the 1840s and quickly became known as making some of the best lenses in the world. And when the camera became popular, he turned into the industry go-to guy for high-quality lenses. Wow, this telescope was manufactured while he was still alive, which is pretty amazing. I can tell by the way it's marked. It says Carl Zeiss Jena.
Okay,
After he died, they changed the name of the company and they dropped the Jena at the end.
okay.
But we have some damage right here.
The Zeiss name is still known for amazing optics. The company makes everything from microscopes to camera lenses to high-tech lasers. But to have a telescope made by the Carl Zeiss company when Carl Zeiss was still alive, that's something special. This piece might be a little beat up, but it's definitely worth restoring.
Okay, so you said you wanted to sell it.
Yes, sir.
All right.
What were you looking to get out of it?
12,000.
Oh, no, 12,000 is not going to happen.
No,
in like almost perfect shape, they go for like $2,500.
Wow.
Okay, and this is
Big
far from
difference.
perfect shape. There's a lot of parts missing.
Okay.
I'm thinking more like $800.
Well, no. Can you go, say, 1,200 then? From
I'll tell you what, I'll go $1,000 on it. I'm gonna have to have this piece right here machined. That's gonna cost me a few $100 by itself.
Okay, I tell you what. I'll take the $1,000.
Okay. All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Let's go do some paperwork.
I settled on $1,000. I was gonna think about bringing it back home with me, but my wife would probably kill me, so easier just to get rid of it now and accept the money.
Oh, we have a hit and miss.
Right on.
Okay.
It's a genuine hit and miss. Now, I think it was the salesman's sample as he went from farm to sell these things.
Okay, so we got the belt on here. Do you mind if I take this out? Because that's a little creepy. All right. I'll put that over there. Yeah, that's just weird.
My kids have absolutely no appreciation for the wonders and mysteries of hit and miss engines. And so I'm going to sell this machine instead of them saying, what's this piece of junk? It's just a principle of the thing.
This was like the first gasoline motor that was commercially used. They started making these in the late 1890s. Farmers absolutely loved these things because you can get a 2.5 horsepower motor that only weighed like 500 pounds. The same size steam engine weighed close to 1,000. You know, and with those steam engines, they took so much fuel. And these things were massively efficient, and I'm surprised they don't use some of this technology today in cars.
I agree.
Because once this thing's at speed and then cruising along with these big flywheels, all the gas turns off, and it just coasts until you need more power. Really super simple design. You have a battery that goes to a coil, and it builds up a charge to like 20,000 volts. And when this spins around to the right spot, right there, it goes boom, and it goes pop.
You do know about these, don't you?
Yeah, and it was called a hit and miss because it wasn't like a regular gasoline engine that goes, dang. This went pop, 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 pop.
It controls the RPMs that way.
Yeah, so, can we fire it up?
We can fire it up.
It only needs to fire to keep it idling right. Once it got up to speed, it would lock in and keep the exhaust valve open. And since the exhaust valve was open, there was no vacuum to suck fuel in it. And then it would just cruise along and coast. Just nerd, I mean, this is nerd heaven right here. I love this machine. It's not every day that you get to see simple machines like this, given how far technology has taken us. But there's not a whole lot of people that come into a pawn shop looking for a hit and miss engine. Well, I'm telling you, you got to run it great. But I really doubt if it's a salesman sample. You can buy this exact same model online right now.
You're kidding. I'm sorry, I didn't know that. Okay.
Okay, but do you know how much these completed models cost?
I have the faintest idea.
Around $3,500. That's a brand new one, though. But it has seen some.
Oh, but
it's been rode hard, and don't tell me it gives a character.
Took the words out of my mouth. Okay.
Okay. I would like to pay you $1,500 for it. It's far from a new model, and I need to resell it. Okay.
You do have overhead. I'm aware of that. And can we move your like up to 2,000?
I think we can meet in the middle at like $1,750.
That's not fair.
I'll tell you what, I'll give you $1,800. I think that's more than a fair price.
Okay.
All right.
If you think it's fair, then that'll be a deal. Okay.
All right. Thanks a lot, man.
I'm glad to see that somebody got it, because I think that's going to go home with him.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey there. I have a authentic signed Dan Fouts jersey.
Okay. This is the greatest quarterback of all time, period. And I know there's a million people that will argue with me, but I really don't care. I grew up in San Diego.
I picked up this jersey about 10 years ago at a sports memorabilia shop in San Diego. I think Dan Fouts is one of the most underrated quarterbacks in NFL history. I'm gonna ask $500 for the jersey. I'm not really sure what it's worth. Maybe a little less, we'll see.
I grew up right down the street from the stadium. He was my idol as a kid. I mean, he really was. Me and my friends, we weren't the best of kids in the world, okay? Me and my buddy, we had a paper route, And occasionally, for a little extra money, we'd stop by the 7-Eleven, we'd put 50 cents in the machine, we'd take all the papers out and sit them right there on the sidewalk in front of 7-Eleven, and we'd sell them for 50 cents a piece. And lo and behold, Dan Fouts went by once and bought a newspaper off us. And it was just like the highlight of the year.
Oh, nice.
I was, I think, 13 or 14 years old, and he was cool to me, and I remember it to this day.
Absolutely.
If he was playing today, Dan Fouts would be one of the best quarterbacks in the league, no question. This guy threw for over 4,000 yards 3 years in a row. As far as quarterbacks go, I can't think of one that was ever better. Gosh, that is one blobby signature. If you didn't know who Dan Fouts was, would you be able to read that?
I know it's real.
How much you want for it?
And we can start around 500.
You have to realize, I'm telling you, of all the jerseys you find out there, especially on the internet, and a lot of sports shops, 90% of them are fake. I would like someone to look at it. I got a buddy, he works right down the street. He's got a sports shop. Let me get him down here real quick. He'll look at the signature. If it's legit, we'll talk price, okay?
All right, thank you.
Be right back.
I believe the signature on the jersey is authentic, and I welcome him bringing in any expert he may choose to do so.
Rick, what's going on, man?
I'm just living the dream, looking at like the greatest quarterback there ever was.
Greatest quarterback in the history of football, debatable. Best quarterback statistically in the late 70s, early 80s, I'll give you that, man. I mean, there was nobody better than Dan Fouts in that 4-year span.
Okay.
This was arguably the best offense ever assembled not to win an NFL championship. So, you know, for a Chargers fan, you don't really have a lot of historically great things that happen to root for. So you're looking at the late 70s, early 80s. This was the time to be a Chargers fan.
Well, yeah, a lot of my buddies say, what's the smallest building in the world? The Chargers Hall of Fame.
You gotta understand, I mean, when Dan Fouts came to the team, they were a losing franchise. Dan Fouts was the prolific passer of that time. On average, their offense would put up about 30 points per game, which was just unheard of back then when the game usually focused on defense and running.
I just want to make sure it's legit.
Okay. This is what I have here. This is from PSA's website directly. This is an example of a Dan Fouts signature. So what I'd like to do, we'll turn it over, we'll compare the two, the characteristics of the autograph, and I'll let you know what it is.
Okay. The signature is really, really blobby.
Ah, the old paint pen, yeah. Looking at a Dan Fouts signature, you just want to focus on a couple of the key characteristics. It's a very small, compact signature, starting with the D in Dan. All of his signatures I've seen, it's a pair of stacked loops, with the top loop being significantly larger than the bottom. And then the F, that's the main thing you want to look at. It's a standalone letter, and the lower bar in the F is always going to be symmetrical with the cross and the T. Based on my experience, I've seen a lot of Dan Fouts signatures out there. Comparing it with the template, this one's easily 100% authentic.
Okay, sweet. So what do these jerseys go for?
Unless you're from the San Diego area, grew up watching them, there's just not a lot of new collectors out there looking for Dan Fouts. You're looking at about 150 bucks here.
Okay. All right, so 150 bucks?
Yeah, so he's one of those guys where if somebody wants one, they typically already have one.
Okay, well, cool, man, thanks.
Hey, you got it, man. Thanks. Hey, good luck to you.
All right, good to meet you.
If this jersey was game worn, we'd be talking completely different numbers. You know, game issued equipment doesn't come up for auction too often, and when it does, with a player like Dan Fouts' career, it would go for thousands of dollars.
Well, you heard him.
I disagree, but
I'll give you 150 bucks. That's what it's worth. I want it for myself, but that's what I could give you. I mean, if I can go get another one on the internet for right around 150, I'll just go there. I mean, this was just in front of me right now, and just brings back a lot of memories. So if you want 150, I'll give you 150. And I never pay people what it's worth.
yeah,
Think about it. No one's gonna pay you more, I guarantee you.
I'm gonna have to bring you something else back to.
Okay, well,
work
bring
on
me
that.
something else. I mean, if it's
Yeah.
Chargers related, I'll pay more.
I might
But-
have something else for you, so.
All right, thanks, man.
All right, I appreciate it. Thank
right.
you. All right. 150 bucks. Sounds like the expert's a Broncos fan to me.
So what do we have here?
I have a 1965 Dan Electro Longhorn bass owned by John Entwistle of The Who.
Seriously?
One of his first basses that he ever owned.
That is amazing. The Who is one of the greatest rock bands ever. Do you mind if I pick it up?
No, go ahead.
Can you picture me on stage?
I've never seen somebody make a bass guitar look so uncool in my entire life. John Entwistle. He was voted bass player of the millennium amongst his contemporaries. I'd like to get about $50,000 for it. I was married recently and decided, well, we could use the money for some other things like a home.
It's a pretty amazing guitar, I'll give you that. All the other kids were listening to Led Zeppelin, I was listening to The Who.
They're part of the English invasion, right?
It's called the British Invasion.
Okay, British invasion.
The Beatles, the Rolling Stones, The Who, and no one ever gets number 4.
David Bowie.
The Kinks. One of the reasons The Who became so big was because John Entwistle was one of the best bass players on the planet. He was one of the first guys to really experiment with feedback. He was a real rock star. It's in remarkably good shape. Do we know if he recorded anything with it?
He's been quoted in books as saying that he originally tried to record My Generation with this guitar, but he kept breaking the strings and then had to resort to a Fender jazz bass for the final recording, so.
All right, and the rest is history.
What's up with the Sotheby's tag? Is that where you got it? Sotheby's auction at John's estate sale on May 13th, 2003. It's listed in the Sotheby's catalog.
All right. It's definitely cool, man. How much do you want for it?
$50,000.
American dollars.
Yes.
It's really important that they played it on a song, an album, on stage.
Well, I'm not going to stand here and try to play guitar expert. That's what Jesse's for. So let me give him a call, and you guys nerd out about The Who or whatever you do. All right?
Okay. Since I can't confirm it was ever played on stage or in a recording, I'm a little iffy on what it's worth. I'm absolutely positive that Jesse will have a better idea than me. This is it. This is one of John Entwistle's basses.
Wow, this is pretty cool.
I've seen, Dan Electro guitars. I really haven't seen any basses.
Well, Dan Electro is kind of a beginner to middle of the road instrument, but they have a really neat sound, and a lot of guys picked them up and started using them because of that.
All right. He says that he played this in the studio. Okay. I'm looking at this thing, and I'm looking at the finish on it. It doesn't look like it's been played.
I mean, you probably wouldn't see a lot of wear on John stuff, and he held his hands like this. He wasn't a guy that was like a guitar player slamming his arm through it.
Okay.
I mean, we can plug it in, make sure everything works if you want.
Grab an amp.
All right, I'll grab them.
Dan Electro, they were made really well, and they were made different from anything else of the time. And they have a really distinct sound and a very collectible guitar in its own right. Yep, cool. Sounds cool.
Now, the big question, what do you think it's worth now? It's not documented, recorded a major song with it. And he's asking 50 now.
And, if you were to find one of these in mint condition, it's probably about a $2,000 bass. Now, with the provenance of being John Entwistle, probably anywhere between 10 and 15, that'd be like a retail price.
This is one of his originals.
It is what it is. It's not the one that he used to play My Generation on the recording with. It's one of his secondary basses. Yeah. All right. Take care.
See ya.
Definitely a cool bass, man. All right, thanks a lot.
Think about a haircut.
Yeah, I'll think about it. It's cool that it was Entwistle's. It's cool that he probably played it on stage a lot, but, I think 50 grand was a little much.
When you first told me, you wanted 50, I had my doubts, but it was The Who, and I was thinking maybe there was something special. But I would give you 10 grand for it. That would be the top dollar.
The bass player of the millennium.
But the thing is, there's probably over 100 of his guitars out there. No, I mean, 10,000's it. It's what the guitar is worth.
Well, being the Who fan that I am, I think I'll have to keep it, but if I ever do decide to sell it, though, I'll let you know.
Okay. Give me a call if you change your mind.
Okay. With him being such an iconic bass player, the least amount I would take is about $30,000. My wife said she'll move back to Texas if I take any less than that, so.
Hey, what's up, man? Hey, I have something I want you to take a look at.
Yeah, I've got about all the crappy suitcases I need, bud.
Well, this isn't just any case. This is a hybrid rocket mounted in a case.
A hybrid rocket?
Did I hear that this is a rocket?
What, your nerd radar go off?
It's a pretty cool thing to have. I've always been into building things, and I actually built a rocket-powered bicycle. It got me kicked out of the dorm in college. I'm hoping to get $3,000 for it, just because the parts are high value.
Where did you get this?
I work for a rocket scientist in Huntsville, and he gave it to me.
This is like a demonstration model or something like that?
Yeah. We basically needed a way to show off the technology. Its designer was the chief propulsion engineer for Spaceship One, and that became Richard Branson's Virgin Galactic, which is going to take very rich people to space.
This is pretty damn cool.
I cannot believe that we have the engine prototype for Richard Branson's Galactic. This might not look like much, but this shows the principles used in a rocket engine that will take people to space one day.
What we think of as a rocket really wasn't invented until World War II by the Nazis. The V-2 rocket that were next to impossible to shoot down because they were so damn fast.
Right.
Well, how much thrust does the thing put out?
You get about 5 pounds.
Okay, this thing weighs more than that. So we're gonna have rocket thrust, but this thing isn't going anywhere.
Right. We've balanced it right so that it won't go off into your neighbor's house or something.
Okay. What does it run off of?
It runs off of nitrous oxide and plastic acrylic.
The nitrous oxide, you have a tank down here or something like that?
Yeah, there's a small tank.
Goes into this tube, it gets real hot, which strips the nitrogen from the oxygen, so you have oxygen that burns with the acrylic.
Right.
How the hell do you know all that?
Because I read books on chemistry and rocket science.
You should read a book on being a better father.
So what are all these knobs and everything?
This knob is what controls the amount of nitrous oxide. Then you have the acrylic here, and we made it so you can see the combustion happening on the inside. This is where you fill nitrous oxide at. This is where you can attach an igniter if you want to use the button to ignite it.
Does it work?
Oh yeah, I can fire it right up.
Let's bring it in my back lot. We're not firing it up in here.
All right.
This rocket does get a lot of cool points, but if it works, the inner nerd in me really wants it.
All right, so I've got the fuse in. I'm just gonna use a regular lighter and I'm gonna light the fuse.
And then when it burns in there, you turn on the nitrous oxide.
Yeah.
That's really high-tech lighting system for a rocket.
Yeah, it's the best way.
Nice. Holy sh**. Look at that thing. That's incredible.
I was kind of hoping it would be spectacular, blast around, giant flame, but it was still pretty cool.
Big question is, what do you want for it? I don't mean to be mean, but I was expecting a 20-foot flame and things like that.
We're looking for $3,000. It's got a lot of really high pressure valves, fittings.
I don't see $3 grand. I just don't.
What do you see?
I was thinking like $100.
I got a lot more money in this than parts.
But who am I going to sell it to?
Hey, you never know when a rocket scientist is going to walk in.
But a rocket scientist is the kind of guy who would build this himself. You're stuck at $3 grand?
I could go $2,500, but that's about all.
It's just not going to happen, dude.
Yeah, well, I guess we don't have a deal then.
Thanks, though, dude.
Yeah, thanks for seeing me. This thing was definitely worth $3,000. It takes a lot of time to design and build and research everything. I definitely think he made a mistake not making a deal.
Hey, how's it going?
How you doing?
Okay. Oh, whoa. This is like the first one.
The very first Walkman.
Where did you get this?
I collect Walkmans, and I got this one in Japan.
Ah, cool. Can I take it out?
Go ahead.
I remember in 1985, if you had the little Walkman, you were like the coolest thing on the
That's
planet.
right.
And this changed everything.
I'm at the pawn shop to sell my Sony Guys and Dolls Special Edition Walkman. I would like to get $1,000 to take my family on vacation, but I'm not going to take less than $600.
Sony came out with this and sort of changed portable music altogether. I mean, it truly was revolutionary. Before this, there really wasn't anything that was portable and practical.
Right.
There was transistor radios that were before this, but quite frankly, they sucked. There was terrible reception. They were mono, they weren't stereo. You know, the cassette tape, basically came out in 1979. There was the boom boxes and everything like that, but you can't really go jogging with like a boom box on your shoulder, you know what I mean? When they first came out with it, they thought it would be rather rude to be walking around with headphones on, so they put 2 headphone jacks in it, and all their advertising were 2 people listening to music. And they very quickly realized that people didn't have a problem being antisocial and walking around with headphones on. And almost 30 years, I've yelled at kids for doing that. So does it work?
It does. I've got a tape right here that I can play.
Okay. I know there was like a really limited number of them they put the Guys and Dolls on.
Correct. That's the one that everybody wants.
It's a neat thing to be having on your shelf. How much you want for it?
I would like to get $1,000 for this Walkman.
I'll give you $600 for it. $600 is a really fair price.
700. I'll throw in the tape. Saturday Night Fever.
Saturday Night Fever, the tape is? All right, you got a deal. I'll meet you right over there, and we'll do some paperwork.
All right.
This thing's great.
You got some pretty sweet dance moves over there. What are you doing, dude?
Nothing.
I saw you cutting the rug over there.
I know I can't dance, all right?
You're over there vibing, though. What do you got going?
This right here is the original Walkman dual headphone jack. Guys and Dolls version.
Let me see. This thing has a mic, too. Mic check, 1, 2, 1, 2. Can I listen with you? I think I got some headphones around here.
Sure, you can listen. I got some things to do. You gotta come with me.
Listen to stuff on your phone. Hater alert. Plug me in.
Are you ready for this?
Yeah. What is that? If it keeps him entertained for a while, fine.
A friend of mine, Derek, gave me a call and said he has something that's way too big to bring in the shop, and said I might not necessarily want it, but if I could sell it for him, maybe there's a little something for me in the deal.
Hey, Rick, how you doing?
Doing good, man. What's going on?
Thanks for coming by.
These are amazing.
So here's the story. We just bought this property. I don't know anything about trains, so you're the first guy I had to call.
Well, they're private cars. I mean, these things were like the G5 of the day. Can I look at it?
Sure.
I mean, it looks real cool. Did you pay extra for the trains?
No, it came with the property. I'm Derek Stevens, and I'm the owner of the D Las Vegas Hotel and Casino. We were a little surprised that the property came with 2 trains, but if they're worth something of substance, then yeah, I'd love to sell them. We're going to be building on this property here, so these trains have to go somewhere. The most important thing is they've got to go to the right home.
Wow. I mean, I drove by this thing a million times. I never thought it was like this inside. Yeah, this is like literally one of the ultimate displays of wealth back in the day. This was the Rockefellers, the Astors. It was like right around 1900 because you can sell that Victorian style with the velvet. Everything's tufted, you know, the gold roping and everything else like that. The more opulent, the better. This was $10 million in today's money. It really was. That's most likely a bed right there that pops out of the wall. The staff, that's where they would sleep. They're really wealthy. They would bring along their own cook. They would bring along some servants. You have a desk right here. You would have like guys that you're involved with business. Can I see the rest of it?
Yeah, come on.
This thing's like the size of a 747 almost. There's a bedroom. I mean, this is really, really impressive. There's probably a handle somewhere. You could take this another bed that would come down. It wouldn't surprise me. The couch also turned into a bed. I mean, you had your own bathroom, which is, I imagine, a lot nicer than the ones they had for the general public. Another really cool thing is that it's 110-volt AC. They were still competing between DC and AC at the time. So before you plug something in, you better know what you were plugging in. Next room?
All right. We got the formal dining room over here.
Wow. This is, this thing has just been sitting in downtown Las Vegas. You walk inside and you're literally walking 110 years in the past.
You think you can get $1 million for these two?
I have no idea. I mean, the thing is, you can't just look up and see what the last one sold for. But I do have some pretty wealthy clients that are into train stuff. So, do you mind if I call a buddy of mine, Mark Halpatton? He runs Clark County Museum.
That'd be great.
Just so he can give me some more info, so when I go to shop this thing, I might sort of sound like I know what I'm talking about. There's a lot of intriguing things about this car. Everything from the pieces on the car to the whole car. So, I want to find out more about it, but I think I can make money off this thing.
Hey, Rick.
Mark!
How you doing? Nice.
How's it going?
Hey,
Derek,
it's good to meet you.
Derek has acquired the Pullman car. Well, I think it's a Pullman car.
Yes, it is a Pullman car. I have looked at these from the street many times. You know, Pullman did a lot of different kinds of cars. They did passenger cars and all of that. It was a car manufacturing company, but they did these executive cars. And this one, in fact, was built in 1902 for the president of the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy Railroad.
So have you ever been inside this car?
No, I haven't. Do you mind if I take a look around in it?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Oh, thank you. The modern equivalent of one of these cars would be like a very high-end private jet. You did want to have your bed connected to the wall, just in case you had to stop fast. You lived in this, you had servants, the kitchen. You had a cook on board, you met with your colleagues and other business partners. If you were getting a little chilly, you could turn up the heat. This was an enclosed office building, in effect, on rails. This is nice. The car is beautiful. I mean, it's in surprisingly nice shape for having just sat out in the air here for decades. There's a few things that are a little more modern than it would have been originally. That doesn't matter. This is just a very nice car.
So this wasn't a conversion?
No, no, it wasn't.
Dude, you've given me a great start.
Thank you. And thanks for showing me. This
Mark,
is really
thanks a lot.
cool. We'll see you.
I might be calling you some more on this. All right.
That's fine. There are actually people that use these cars today, that buy them and restore them and then will pay to hook them onto a freight train or something as a way of going across the country and recreating a lifestyle that's long gone.
All right, dude, I think I can sell this thing.
Well, I appreciate it.
I just really so nerding out on this thing. I absolutely love it. Like this thing even still works. To actually buy this thing and store this thing somewhere would cost a fortune. And it's way too much of a risk. So what I'm gonna try and do is I'm gonna try and find a buyer. I'm gonna have that buyer go direct to Derek, and I'm gonna make a little money in the middle. I think it's 80 feet long. The nicer one was built in 1902.
He's been on the phone all day. What's up?
Yeah, they're both Pullmans. You really need to come out and take a look
What are you
at it.
doing, Rick?
All right, I'll see you later. I'm trying to sell a train. I got people to call. I gotta get this figured out.
Where'd you get a train? From the train station, obviously.
I don't own a train. I know someone who has some old train cars who wants to sell them. If I can find someone to sell it, I can like middle the deal and make a little money out of it.
All right, well, I'm pressed for time. I'm brokering a space shuttle deal for NASA today. I gotta get out of here. Let me know if that guy wants to buy the Brooklyn Bridge, too. If it comes with a train, he might.
Do you guys take anything seriously?
Choo-choo.